Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
I guess I don't know what I would do without my iPhone. Probably make a lot less calls when I was going mobile. Imagine what it would be like if you lost your iPhone, if you haven't already. Kind of nerve-wracking, I guess. I got an email here from Eric Dorr, and he notes that he's not much of a writer, but he really wanted to share the story. He said, on the 15th of March, I brought my truck over to my father-in-law to have him work on the brakes. I ended up having to order a part for my truck and decided to leave it overnight as I had to work the next day, and felt it was unsafe to drive. When I got home that night around 9 p.m., I came to the realization that I had left my iPhone in the center console. It wasn't a big deal at the time because they only lived like 10 miles away, and I could easily swing by in the morning and pick it up. Sometime between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., the truck was stolen. When I received the phone call telling me this, I went into panic mode. You see, I didn't care about the truck being stolen, but the first thing I thought of was my iPhone. My wife told me I was acting like I had lost our child. While I was filing the police report, I just happened to blurt out, "They have my iPhone!" Apparently, the officer wrote that down, and the next day, a detective contacted me. He wanted to know if I had indeed left my iPhone in the truck. I told him yes, and he said that he would call me back. The next day, I received a phone call stating that they had found my truck. I asked them if they checked to see if my iPhone was still in the truck, and they said, "How do you think we found your truck?" I was dumbfounded. Somehow, they worked with at&t. Yes, my phone is not unlocked, and they were able to use the iPhone as a beacon, I guess. So I'm glad I made the decision to purchase this phone. It was worth being an early adopter. The iPhone is the greatest phone I ever owned, and it saved me the hassle of having to get a new vehicle. And it's potentially a crime fighter. Now, some people might be scared by that, but in this case, he was able to use the power of the iPhone to help authorities locate it. So, in the event, the unlikely event of not only a water landing, well, that probably would destroy anything if dropped too high or in too deep water, but in the event that you do misplace your iPhone, you might let the authorities know that it's possible, at least according to Eric, for them to run a trace on it and try to find it. It's one of those things that you don't think about until you need it. It's one of the reasons why I have been using certain services that would allow me to, well, specifically on like this particular MacBook, they make a low jack for laptops, which is just, I think, is just, it's peace of mind more than anything else. There's also a program for Mac OS X called Undercover, and Undercover will basically install silently, and if someone steals like your Mac, and I think we've talked about this before, it will send information back when it's connected to the internet, including like screen grabs as well as like image grabs from the eyesight. That's something that I don't think every burglar is going to understand. But there's iAlertU as well. iAlertU is more of, if you got your laptop and then you walk away from it, you set iAlertU, and then it senses any kind of movement with the accelerometer. If someone like runs off the laptop, it'll go, it'll like sound an alarm, and that is sometimes enough to make them stop. iAlertU, by the way, is free. I don't know if there are really any other mobile devices that have the capabilities of the iPhone, at least in the way that had been used by the authorities to locate it. One of the things that I think is interesting, there's no GPS, at least that I know of, in the iPhone, but there's a nice little feature in the Maps application where I can say, press this little button, and it will tell me pretty much where I'm at. It'll look at the towers and then locate me, like in a general sense. This is kind of where I'm at, and every time I press it, it always does a pretty darn good job. So it was something that when I'm traveling, that's helpful, especially if I'm lost and I don't really have a bearing. That kind of service is going to become more and more important, and it's in the iPhone now. But how many other devices have that? I mean, do you carry around a GPS with you? Unless you're probably camping, probably not. RF direction finding, GPSs in cell phones, but to be able to locate a device is something that also raises a variety of privacy issues as well. And if you trust your network, in many cases you have to, I mean, if you're using their service, you got to trust them that they're not going to use that against you. I mean, do you trust your service? I mean, how far do we trust these people? I mean, is it going to get to the point where they're going to implant RFID in us? I don't know. It's a subject worth talking about. Has anybody else experienced this with their devices? Having it lost and having the authorities, as long as it's had some kind of tracking in it, help pick it up and either catch the criminal or, at least recover the device? Be interested in finding out. Anyway, my email address is chris@pirillo.com, and I'd be interested also in finding out what you guys think about the future and the privacy implications of something like that, specifically if it got into the wrong hands. You're welcome to swing by the chat room. We're typically talking tech 24 hours a day. You pretty much know where I am. You don't need to run a trace on me. It's right here sometimes. Not always, I know. But that's okay. There are plenty of people in the chat room who will keep you entertained as long as you entertain them in a very friendly way. We're at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.